Hi, my name is Evan Hartzell, and I'm Executive Director of Club Christ. Thank you so much for taking your time to come to the center to serve kids. This volunteer training video will equip you to be the best volunteer you can be. Our vision at Club Christ is to teach, empower, and lead the next generation of urban leaders. We want to see them transform their communities for Christ, and your job is to give them the tools to do that. Each day, your students will be waiting just for you, to sit with them, to listen to them, to help them achieve their dreams. Thank you for being a part of this effort to transform their communities for Christ, and enjoy this volunteer training.
Hi, my name is Kendra Dyson, and I'm the Program Director for Club Christ. During this section, we're going to go over what a typical day at the center looks like. You will arrive about 15 minutes early before the students, so that you can help the center director prepare for the day. When students arrive, you will help serve snack or perhaps play a game with them. After a little bit of free time, the students will be divided into two groups. One of those groups will begin with literacy, while the other does their homework and tutoring. After about a half an hour, the center director will swap those two groups. In this section, I'm going to give you a couple quick tips for tutoring a student. Our aim for tutoring is that our students receive personalized attention as well as an increase in subject matter. Our hope is not that the students complete every single problem on their homework. That will be wonderful, of course. Instead, we hope that they can walk away from the experience understanding how to do their homework on their own and therefore do it in class. At Club Christ, we have 3 steps of our tutoring process. They are teach, do, and watch. During the teach portion of tutoring, you're going to actually want to show the child how to do the problem. We don't want to assume that they understood it from class. In fact, many of our students do not understand their homework, and without our help, they will be unable to learn it. So, you'll want to take their homework and break it into a step-by-step process. Help them understand how to do the homework, one step at a time. Next, they're going to do the homework with you. It's a good idea to help students verbalize their thought processes, to take you step by step through each and every problem. This is important. Through verbalization, students are able to retain information a lot better. Lastly, you're going to watch the students do their homework. You want to make sure that they understand what they're doing, and not just set them free to do it on their own yet. After a little bit of time, go ahead and let them do a few problems independently, but be sure to check it before they head home. So let's review those 3 steps. They are teach, do, and then watch. In this section, we're going to discuss our literacy program. This is one of the core programs at a Club Christ Learning Center. At Club Christ, we use 2 online literacy programs. The first is Reading Eggs. That is for our younger students and helps them acquire phonics skills. The second is Ticket to Read. This is a fluency-based and comprehension-based software program. Both of them are excellent at helping students that are perhaps struggling catch up with their peers. If you're asked to be a part of our literacy program one day, we have a couple quick tips for you. First, engage the student. That doesn't mean just being a body in the room, but actually sitting next to them, reading with them, helping them understand the questions that they might be facing. This will enable students to reflect on what they're reading and perhaps understand it better. Another thing that you can do is help them understand the instructions. Many times our students aren't quite sure what's expected of them. If you explain it to them very clearly, then they'll have a chance to do really well. During this section, we're going to talk about discipline. At Club Christ, we believe that correction is an act of love. We want to teach them to do what is right. We also want to teach them how to make wise choices. Life does not come with a rule book, so we hope to give our students the tools they need to make good choices outside of the center and into their adult lives. Before an incident arises for which a student might need to be disciplined, we want to constantly be encouraging every child at our center. Take every moment you can to point out how proud you are of students when they succeed, and also encourage them when they're having a rough day. We have a few essential guidelines when it comes to discipline. First, our aim is to teach, not punish. We want the students to learn from this experience and hopefully make a better choice next time. Second, our discipline is never physical. During a discipline encounter, we do not touch the student. Third, follow through is essential. If you do not follow through on what you say you're going to do, students will know that they can push the line. Lastly, know your limits. If you find yourself feeling frustrated or aggravated by a specific student, or on a day in general, let the center director know. You might need to go home early or perhaps work with another student that day. We want the experience to be good for both you and them, so make sure that you know your limits. While a lot of our discipline is handled by the center directors, we want you to be informed about what the process is and how you can be involved. First, we give students a reminder. A lot of people will call this a warning, but we prefer to call it a reminder. We want to remind them to do what is right, to make the right choice, to remind them of what we expect of them and how they should act differently. Should the student not listen or change their behavior, the next step will be a loss of privilege. During that step, the center director will tell them that they won't be able to be involved in a particular activity that day. It could be free time or quiet time or something else. If the situation continues to escalate, the center director will give them a timeout or think it over. During this time, the student will be asked to reflect upon the experience, contemplating what they didn't do right and what they can change in the future. A letter will be sent home to their parents, which they will need to sign and before the student can return. So let's review the 3 steps of our discipline process. 1, a reminder. 2, a loss of privilege. And 3, a timeout or think it over. In the final section of our video, we're going to go over some basic safety procedures for Club Christ. Let's begin though with our guidelines. First, never be alone with a child. Whether it be in a building or out in public, we always go in 2s. That can mean 2 volunteers or at least 2 students. Second, we do not give money to any student for any reason. Should a student share a financial hardship with you at the center, let the center director know. We have a lot of resources available to them. And lastly, practice safe touch. For us, that means the 3 H's: high fives, handshakes, and side hugs. Anything outside of that, we ask that you do not do with the students, especially meaning lap sitting, as well as piggyback rides. Another safety measure we have put into place is a code word. At Club Christ, our code word is Napoleon is here. This is in place to let you know when there's an emergency situation taking place in the neighborhood. We use this word because we don't want the students to become involved in the situation, nor to know what's going on. So, if your center director comes to you and says, Napoleon is here, they will also give you directions to follow. This could be to remove the students to another room that is perhaps a little bit safer, or to simply keep the students occupied for a while the situation resolves itself. Should there ever be a fire at the center, we will need you to do a few things. First, clear the room that you're in. Make sure students aren't hiding under desks or in closets. Also, as you evacuate the building, help us by looking in bathrooms and closets. A lot of times when students become scared, they hide. The last thing we want is to leave a child behind. Be sure to ask your center director where you would meet if there was a fire. Every single one of our facilities has a safe location where we meet in that event. Should there ever be a medical emergency at the center, there's a few things you'll need to do. First, if the student's life or long-term health is at risk, go ahead and dial 911. And if you have any first aid or CPR training, you can begin that if it's necessary. If a student is injured at the center, let the center director know. We have a first aid kit available, as well as we'll probably contact the parents to let them know what's going on. In our communities, it's not uncommon for events to take place where we feel like it would be unsafe for the children to go home at that time. So what we begin is a shelter in place. During a shelter in place, it is your responsibility to keep the students involved in their learning and distracted. Oftentimes we don't want them to know what's taking place because we don't want them to become a part of the problem. The center director will let you know when the area has become safe again and the students can go home. Lastly, should you ever notice signs of abuse, or should the student ever share with you something troubling going on in their home, you need to listen attentively. Make sure you inform your center director immediately and get them involved in the process. As an after-school program, we are mandated reporters and must report all suspicions of abuse to the authorities. If a student opens up to you and begins to tell you a story, there's a couple things we would ask. First, keep your questions basic. Don't lead them to give more information beyond who did this, has it happened before, and when did it happen. Also, never tell a student that you will keep their secrets. Instead, say to them, if you trust me enough to tell me this information, then you need to trust me enough to do what is right for you and your family. If you're involved in any of these incidences, your center director might ask you to fill out an incident report. It's a simple one-page document that just records what you saw or heard.
Hi, this is Evan again, the Executive Director of Club Christ. This organization is a faith-based nonprofit. That means we want to share our faith with these students. And it's voluntary for students then to participate in our faith-based activities. We'd love for you to share your Christian faith with these students, but if you're not a Christian, that's okay. We'd love for you to still invest in the students and be a part of our tutoring program. And thank you so much for being a part of this volunteer training. We value you, we appreciate you taking your time to invest in these students, and we hope you enjoy your experience at Club Christ.